Infinity One Productions presentation. Keeping it honest, insightful, interactive. Covering weekly fallout from TNA Impact Wrestling Live as seen on Spike TV. You're listening to Impact Showdown Radio with your host, Lee Sanders.
Welcoming you all to an all-new episode of Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you live right now on January 31st, 2013. It is the final day of the month. You know what I'm trying to say. What's up? Long day. Forgive me, folks. It's going to pick up. Don't worry. All right. Thank you guys for checking out tonight's show. We got the chat room that's open for you all right now live at blogtalkradio.com. Feel free to jump on in there when you get a free moment. You can also take the time out to interact with us during the course of this episode by hitting us up on Twitter. Hit us up at Infinity1Prod. While you're at it, you can also take the time out to like our Facebook page over at Infinity One Productions. We got a jam-packed episode for you tonight, and to top it all off, we got a very special guest that's going to be sliding on in here just a few seconds. We got the one, the only wrestling sensation, the famous Justin Reno. No stranger to the show. He's been coming by, pretty much one of the coolest guys you all will ever get to know, let me tell you. And, Justin's going to lay some stuff down for you guys as he's got some TNA news that he wants to share with you all. And it's good timing that we have all this going down as we just came fresh off of the heels of a strong finish there to tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling, where we saw Wes Briscoe and the one, the only Garrett Bischoff being revealed as members of Aces and Eights. Some of you are probably looking at this, though, and you're probably saying to yourselves, Lee, tell me something I do not know. Well, we're going to bring Justin Reno in, and I'm definitely going to be picking his brain on what he had thought about tonight's episode, as we're going to be talking all TNA wrestling-related news and find out what he's been dipping into as of late. Now, we're experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties right now, as it looks like Blog Talk Radio, they've recently revamped their website, so navigation is going to be a little bit funny, and I'm hearing and I'm actually seeing that there's a little bit of problems in the switchboard. So if you have any type of a delay or technical glitches, it's not our problem. It's the fault of Blog Talk Radio. But let's see if we can get Justin Reno in here now. Justin, you live on there, my bro. How are you? Justin Reno in here now. Justin, you live on there, my bro. How are you?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. I'm hearing a little bit of echo. Is that you?
Yeah, I just turned off my computer, though. I couldn't hear you.
You got that delay. How you been, man?
Pretty good.
Long time no hear. It was the last time, I think it was, the 100th episode, right?
Yeah, I think so. We were talking about, I think it was going into the Hell in a Cell with Punk and Ryback.
Yes, it was. You're absolutely right. Good memory. Yep. That's exactly, last time, yeah. Man, so did you see tonight's episode?
I did watch the show. It was a pretty good show from start to finish, and Angle and Anderson really pulled out a hell of a cage match at the end. Like you said, with the reveal, though, it was kind of like, tell me something I don't know. But the whole time with those guys, I was praying that that was just a rumor. And it's just very uninteresting to me, Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious to see what they're going to do with this now that they've, put this out there. I mean, this is how you follow up on Taz. I thought, if anything, it was going to kind of get a little better once they had Taz be revealed, but, they came up with this. I mean, this was literally, I think fans were definitely disappointed. I think they probably looked at that last segment like, but we have major news here. Justin, how about that news there of TNA President Dixie Carter revealing that beginning March 14th, it all begins, folks, in Chi-Town at the Sears Arena. Impact Wrestling is going to be live, hitting the road. They're going to be bringing us new episodes of Impact Wrestling live from everywhere in the U.S. I mean, I've been waiting for this move to happen for quite some time. I was actually talking about it last week as I was commending TNA Wrestling for doing what they've done successfully over in the UK, as they've really been able to just tap into that audience very well. But I had stressed that they needed to come on back home because it was the American fans that kind of helped get TNA Wrestling where it is right now. What was your take on hearing that announcement of them now hitting the road? Looks like they're going to be leaving the Florida studios on a more permanent basis.
Well, first off, to me, is the Sears Center is literally 10 minutes away from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to make an appearance there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. Tickets aren't on sale yet, but I think I'll find my way into the building.
Now, yeah, tickets will not be on sale for those of you curious. And in the Chicago area, my home city, my hometown, tickets will not be on sale until next Saturday, and you'll be able to get them at the Sears Arena website. Again, tickets go on sale next Saturday. Those are going to be some pretty hot tickets, I would imagine, especially in Chi-Town. That's a hell of a good way to kick off going live permanently with Impact Wrestling. You're doing it in front of Chicago, and if anybody knows their wrestling, it's definitely Chi-City.
Yeah, and, you know, they came here once before to the Sears Center for Bound for Glory in, I want to say, 2008, and I was there for that. But, you know, I was in high school, and, you know, I was in the crowd and everything. And, you know, now, and this gut check thing we're going to talk about coming up, I mean, it's becoming more real that it's going to be there right in front of me.
Yeah. I see big things happening for you in your future, man. I think you're, at this rate, you're probably going to go in like Justin Reno, I got my boy mixed up there, Joey Ryan. You're probably going to go in like him. That'd be a good way to make an impact.
I'm a big Joey Ryan fan. I kind of like how he operates. So.
Yeah, it's been a little cold, though, as of late, man. A little cold.
What, in Chicago?
No, just his recent developments, man. It's like ever since he signed with TNA Wrestling or ever since he parted ways with Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, it just kind of seems like he's been put on ice there a little bit.
I don't think he's being treated any differently than anyone else in TNA. I mean, people just kind of pop in and out, you know?
Yeah, maybe that's what's it. So I got to pick your brain on something because I saw this a couple of weeks ago. I saw that you have this new character,
Yep.
Judas. And how you pronounce the last name?
Yorick.
Okay, so you got this new character, Judas Yorick. And I'm curious because I was looking at this and I saw a little bit of the images that you had put out there on your Facebook page. And, it looked as if they had kidnapped you and, two or three other guys, they kidnapped you and they were injecting you with these weird serums, and that's how you turn to Judas. At least that's how I'm understanding the backstory. But just the idea of that character, because, I mean, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, wow, this totally looks badass. It kind of had like a combination of Papa Shango meets the Boogeyman there. How'd you come up with that one?
I've been developing this character for years, before I was in the business, before I was, play wrestling in the backyard with friends and just dreaming of being in the business. That's the character I always wanted to do. It's just kind of a demented jester and, take pieces from Mankind, the old school Mankind, the disturbed Mankind, and I'm a huge Raven fan, and, I kind of have that dark side to me, so I've always been, interested in that, and guys like The Undertaker, so the opportunity came up, after 3 years being in the business to do this thing with a group called the Three Rings, who's just it's basically like a, evil carnival group, and, it's got a guy named Machine his eyes are all distorted, and he's just a total monster. The guy Grin, he's got the face paint, he's like the Joker, he's just crazy. And then, what happened was basically it was a slow build all the way from the summer. A guy named the Ringmaster started coming around the ring, and he had this skull, and he threw the skull to a guy, and he cracked me over the head with it. And then, nothing really happened for a few months, but then I got in a couple matches with Machine, and Machine just dominated me. He would just killed me in all these matches. It got to the point where they beat me down so bad, and I just got gang beat up by the whole group that basically Justin Reno had to check himself into a mental facility. I just going crazy over it with all these beatings, and it just had my head racked. Next thing you know, I'm in that hospital. Ringmaster comes out, and, you know, Machine comes up from behind me, holds me down, and Grin just takes this green goo and injects it into my neck. And next thing you know, next show coming out, Judas comes out.
And the rest is history. I'm enjoying this new Judas character. I mean, it's visually, it's stunning. And for those of you that are joining us right now, we do welcome you. Of course, you're listening to Thursday night's Impact Showdown Radio. Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, with the famous Justin Reno. For you guys that don't know Justin Reno, he is a longtime guest that's been stopping by our show from time to time. Always a blast when he comes on by. For those of you that don't know, he is one hell of a wrestling sensation. I mean, he's been making waves in the independent wrestling circuit. Just some of the promotions that he's been doing a lot of work for is Pro Blitz Wrestling. He's been doing a little bit of work down for MECW. I mean, the man is just really all over the place. And he's also been doing some work with Elite Pro Wrestling. And we're just kicking back here, talking all things wrestling right now. And, Justin, you got to tell me, man, because I know we were talking about it the last time you were on with the whole TNA Gut Check. And I've definitely been staying on top of that. And I see that you've made some new stride there. It looks like you got some good news that you can share with the listeners. Let them know about that.
Yeah, apparently now the fans get to vote on who they want to see on Impact Wrestling on the Gut Check. So it's in the fans' hands. And it's interesting because they put it up on ImpactWrestling.com. And, you know, at first I kind of noticed that in every bracket, because there's different brackets, and each bracket has maybe 25 wrestlers in it, and, you know, there's 16 brackets. So there's a couple hundred wrestlers in there. But I noticed that in all the brackets, all the international wrestlers, right from the beginning, just their votes, you know, skyrocketed. The guy in my group who's number one right now is from Britain. There's a guy from Canada who's dominating his group, and there's a guy from Ireland who's dominating his group. So that's just interesting, something I noticed. And, you know, I just kind of started, you know, floundering, you know, with everyone else, you know, with, you know, no votes to start with. It's just fun to kind of watch because last Saturday I was number 10, and every day it just kind of, you know, builds and builds, and now I'm at number 5. So it's interesting. From what I've read, you only have to be in the top 16 to move on to the next bracket. But I want to see myself as number 1, and it was cool to watch myself in a week climb from number 10 to number 5, and, you know, I'm just keep climbing that ladder.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, how can our listeners help you out there? Where can they go to cast their vote to see you advance?
For fans who have been on ImpactWrestling.com and have, you know, voted and know how to do that, I'm in bracket 13. And you got to vote under our real name, which is, my real name is Thomas Roshaki. It's spelled Rossiaky. I'm kind of toward the bottom of the list in my group. Easier way to go to it is if you just go to justinreno.com. It's laid out right there on the home page. It says vote for Thomas Roshaki, and then you click on that, and it takes you right to the poll. So the easiest way is to go to justinreno.com and vote for Thomas Roshaki. If you want to see Judas or Justin Reno on Impact Wrestling, I think you'll be interested in either one.
Wow, so they're letting you go with either character.
You know what? It hasn't been laid out for us, but the way I look at it, this is my gut check. You know, if this is my chance to make something of myself, I would think I could do what I want.
I hear you on that, yeah. I hear you on that one. And for those of you that want to do that, if you're in the chat room there as you're listening, we got the link that's going to be making its way into the chat room right now for you all. It is available right now. It's in the chat room. Check that link out, and we'll also post the other links that Justin had mentioned earlier. So that's good. I'm glad to hear that you jumped from 10 and you jumped to 5. 'Cause I can't recall the last time I had saw the latest update. I know I saw it last week, like around the weekend, and I remember seeing you kind of, if I'm not mistaken, you were around 10 at that point, and to see you jump up, so fast, I don't know, man. I don't think you're going to go all the way right here.
I'm pretty, comfortable that I'm going to land in the top 16. That wasn't even really a concern because there's a guy in my group who has 6 votes. Not everyone has a huge fan base, and I don't know that I even have a huge fan base, but it's growing, and it's fun to watch.
Mm. That is just freaking awesome. So I got to pick your brain on this. We've been seeing what all has been happening with TNA Wrestling as of late. We heard that they were going to be sitting up and rolling out a whole new social media campaign because they want to have their presence be more dominant. YouTube, Pinterest, you name it. And by the way, I saw that you're now on Pinterest. I like how you had hooked up your boards on there. Good stuff. And we see that, they have eliminated a vast majority of their pay-per-views so that they can just focus on the main 4, the Genesis, Bound for Glory, Slammiversary, and I'm missing one. I can't think of it right now. But, we see them making all these great strides, and now we hear that they're going to be hitting the road permanently beginning March. What's been your take, kicking back, as that guy looking in, you're trying to get into the organization. What's been your overall perspective from everything you've been seeing so far?
Well, I would say as a fan's perspective, because I've been watching TNA since the very beginning, since the weekly pay-per-views and everything. So I would say from a fan's perspective, it's kind of about time that they're taking this on the road because, TNA from the start would take these giant steps, like not baby steps. They would, go all of a sudden they had weekly TV shows and then monthly pay-per-views all at once, and then they were on Spike TV. And then, all these other big changes happened. And then since maybe 2006, I would say after Kurt Angle got there, it kind of peaked. It's kind of stayed at the same level for the past 6 or 7 years. And I wouldn't say Hulk Hogan was, taking a huge step, just my opinion. So I think this is the biggest step since Kurt Angle got to the company that the company has taken, is taking it on the roads. And maybe the cut down pay-per-views, maybe that has something to do with it too. Maybe they're cutting costs there so that they could do this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it's cool. It's about time that they've done this because whenever they do take TNA on the road, you see how lively the crowds are. Just the people in Florida, Orlando, and the Impact Zone, they're spoiled. You can't do anything to make them pop anymore.
No, not really. And I mean, this move has been a long time coming because they really need to know what's truly current, what's got everybody talking. Just because you hear that one crowd in Florida react the way that they do to a Jeff Hardy or a Bobby Roode, it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the same reaction elsewhere. So this is really about damn time that they're doing this because now they're really going to be able to see firsthand what's working for certain superstars, what's working key storyline-wise. I could only imagine what would have happened if that whole revelation at the end of Wes Briscoe, Garrett Bischoff, I can only imagine if that would have went down, not even in Florida, if that would have just happened in Pittsburgh or something like that. I think the fans just really would have let them have it and be like, we already know this. They probably would have made some type of chant like that.
No, that's why I think they did it on these shows, on the pre-taped shows, so that way when fans read the spoilers, they're not really pissed off that they missed anything.
Right. I mean, it's just crazy the way that they do this, and it is good that they're doing this while in the UK, and For those of you that's joining us right now, we do welcome you. Impact Showdown Radio. Lee Sanders here with very special guest. MECW former champion, currently is involved with the TNA Gut Check voting contest, and he's been making quite a splash there so far. Moved up from rank number 10 up to 5. Sounds pretty damn good so far. The famous Justin Reno. So let's talk some more. You said you saw Impact tonight. Let's go over the card quickly, if you don't mind. We had Kickback, and it was the open fight night edition of Impact Wrestling. We saw Daniels and Kazarian come out, and they had some pretty interesting words there with that Manchester crowd right before Magnus had made his return. Magnus has not been seen on Impact TV since November of last year. Received a pretty good pop from the crowd right there, as he actually wanted to challenge both of these two guys to a fight. How have you been enjoying the ride from Daniels and Kazarian so far, but mainly Daniels?
I think they are an amazing pairing together. Daniels has always been great. Kazarian kind of feeds off of Daniels, and he's better because of Daniels and better, with Christopher Daniels. So I think they're a good pairing. Going back to what you said about Magnus returning, I thought it was interesting that he didn't want more revenge on the Aces and Eights. Why didn't he call out Aces and Eights for beating the crap out of him with a hammer? I thought that was weird.
Brother, I thought that was really weird myself, because I'm like, don't you want some type of payback? Of all the episodes you come back on, you're coming back on Open Fight Night. You could challenge anybody. But I'll see what you just said, and I'll match that with, I think what's even more weirder is the fact that we have Hulk Hogan, who's able to sit up and say, okay, Aces and Eights, you're going to have a match with so-and-so. Wait a minute, I was kind of led to the impression that Aces and Eights are just these group of renegade thugs that aren't under a contract of any type. They can just do what they want to do, wherever, however. I didn't know they were under a contract.
Well, then I think they won contracts at Bound for Glory, or they won
they won something.
Something, yeah. They won access to the Impact Zone, which I assume was, it makes it legal for them to be in TNA. I don't know. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I don't know either, but that was weird indeed. Magnus, he ended up. Wait a minute. Let's back up a second. Well, Magnus technically did kind of get a little bit of revenge because he called out Devon there from Aces and Eights.
He didn't do. Didn't someone come up from behind him or something, and he just threw him out of the ring or something stupid like that?
Nah, well, from what I remember, he was attacking Daniels and Kazarian. He threw both of those guys out the ring. Then he grabbed a mic and he was talking about how much of an honor it was for him to be back. That all those months that he's been recuperating, it was all courtesy of Aces and Nathan. He did actually call out Devon. And we didn't see a finality to that match, though. That's where it kind of gets a little confusing for everybody because we saw the Aces and Eights, they got involved, and the ref had no choice but to throw the match out. And so it looks like Magnus, Aces and Eights, not quite done yet. We also saw Joseph Park. Here was another case where we're talking on Aces and Eights. I'm thinking to myself, Joseph Park is getting ready to call out Aces and Eights. It makes sense. I have been like a one-man band over here with my crusade. I've been saying, wait a minute, Joseph Park knows the identity to all the guys in Aces and Eights, and yet he just continues to be able to walk on, challenging them left and right. He's not dropping the bombs, man. And looked like maybe he was possibly going to be calling out an Aces and Eights member. He took on Robbie E. instead, as Robbie E. came on out, challenged him to a match. How have you been enjoying the Joseph Park character? I'm very curious.
I've really enjoyed the Joseph Park character. Just, I think he's been just, I don't know if I want to say booked very well or if he's, whoever writes the show has been writing it very well, but just the slow build of his character just for the past year, and he's just now starting to wrestle. It's so interesting, and it keeps you coming back every week.
It does.
He's one of the most interesting things in wrestling right now.
He really is. You know, I would hate to make the comparison because it only goes but so far, but he really is truly like today's Andy Kaufman. To a certain extent, you know. Wrestling-wise is a different story, you know. I mean, not exactly Kurt Angle or anything, you know. When you see him in the ring, you're kind of like, yeah, let's wrap it up already, you know. But that's a hell of a character.
What? I was going to say, people forget that's Abyss. That guy can wrestle. He's a good wrestler. He plays that character so well that it looks like he can't wrestle. But that's just how he's playing the character. He works it so great.
He really does. He really does. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job of just making it be two separate characters, you know. And, I mean, it just really gives him new life, really. I mean, I can remember the few times where, you know, you see a Mick Foley, he decides he wants to resurrect the Mankind gimmick or the Cactus Jack gimmick. You know, there used to be a time where you could kick back and you can go, oh, snap. But now it's just, it's Mick Foley, you know. But the way Joseph Park has been doing this, I mean, really, I don't know if Abyss will ever return. I think the real question is, would Joseph want to go back to being Abyss again? And honestly, the impression I'm getting, it just looks like he's having so much fun. I think we may have seen Abyss for the last time, you know, maybe a little cameo here and there just to talk, but like as far as those brutal matches that we've come to love, I don't think his body can hold up anymore.
I was thinking about this myself during Impact, just thinking about the Joseph Park character and the evolution and everything. And I think it was good for Abyss to do that, because, I mean, how long can you do that to yourself? I mean, he was taking thumbtack bumps every single show and every house show. I mean, you can't do that every night. You know, the guy needs a break. So, and technically, didn't Abyss confront Joseph Park at some point? I think I remember that. World, they are two different people, I think. I don't think he can turn into Abyss. That's a different guy. But you never know in wrestling, you know.
I know, right? We got to show some love to our good boy, Robert, in the chat room. Robert, special message goes to Justin here. Robert said he cast his vote. He thinks Joseph Park is amazing. Hashtag, he is a Park Mark. And he notes that Joseph Park stands at 6'8". Yeah, that is a tall boy right there. Other action we saw on Impact tonight, as for those of you that didn't get the memo, tonight's episode was pre-taped. It actually was done January 25th. TNA Wrestling, they are in the UK for the entire month, and they're going to be giving us nothing but Impact Wrestling episodes from there. Always a joy to see them go to the UK crowd. Just looks, and it actually kind of feels like it's an entirely different atmosphere out there. You know, some would describe it almost as Bizarro world out there. Action continued as we saw Austin Aries defeat Chavo Guerrero to earn himself and Bobby Roode a tag title match next week. And I don't like going over spoilers, but yours truly, I do know the results of what's going to be coming for the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to not give any spoilers away, but very interesting developments of what's happening there with Austin Aries and Bobby Roode.
I don't know. I don't read spoilers, so don't spoil it.
I'm not spoiling it for you. But how have you been enjoying Austin Aries and Bobby Roode? I know we have some fans, you know, they may feel a little bit disgruntled because they see two of the top best guys in the company right now. Neither one of these men have the TNA World Heavyweight title. But, you know, honestly, just the way that they have been utilized, it was almost like a blessing in disguise. They just work so well together. It's like PBJ, man.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? Beer Money. Those were two guys who were just on the verge of becoming main event superstars. And then next thing you know, they became a tag team, and they made it work, and they were the best damn tag team in wrestling for a few years. I think the same thing's about to happen with Roode and Aries.
Mm-hmm. I think you're on to something there. Quite honestly, I really do. You know, I love Bobby Roode, Austin Aries. Those two guys, they work so well together, and just the whole storyline that they got going on right now, with their belief that TNA Wrestling is doing nothing more but is the place for the champions of yesterdays, and they're basically disgusted at the idea of all the champions being old heads that's holding on to all those titles. And you know what? It brings up a very interesting article. I'd like to get your opinion on this too. Jeff Hardy, he had recently gave a interview to One M Live, and the question was asked, what does he think about critics who say that TNA is filled with washed-up former WWE wrestlers trying to collect a paycheck? I want to get your thoughts on this. This is his direct quote right here. You know, I'm not sure. We're way different than WWE. We may never be as big as WWE, but the one cool thing about TNA is that we are the alternative. So people who get tired and bored with the WWE, I've been there, I understand, there's an alternative and something else to watch. For special wrestlers, there's somewhere else to go. As long as you're not brainwashed by that WWE mentality, there's other worlds out there. It's okay to switch around.
I think that's very well said, very well put.
Yeah. That's classy words right there. I couldn't agree with that anymore. Because we stay hearing that, especially from time to time when we upload our episodes on YouTube. You know, we always see the same comments that come in, even on other people's videos. We say, TNA Wrestling sucks. And then it's kind of like, well, if TNA Wrestling sucks, then why are you leaving a comment on a TNA piece? You know, it's like, don't fight it. Sounds like you like it, man.
Internet, man. People have no lives. They just want to complain.
Yeah, seriously. And wrapping it up tonight, we saw Velvet Sky, James Storm. They defeated Tara and Jesse. I don't even need to go into any more details about that, although I will say I'm a little bit disappointed that Taz no longer says, let those pigeons loose. Main event match, of course, we had Kurt Angle defeating Mr. Anderson inside of a steel cage match. Once again, Wes Briscoe, Garrett Bischoff, they would end up attacking him post-match as they revealed themselves to be members of Aces and Eights. How have you been enjoying this Aces and Eights ride so far? You know, I mean, it seemed like at one point it had hit a really low point. It looked as if there was just no end to this storyline. TNA Wrestling, they kind of get a little bit on the defensive. They're saying, well, when we have a storyline that's white hot, we want to try to keep it going for an extended period of time. We don't want rivalries to end a month, 2, 3 months later. We want to try to make it stretch out for as long as humanly possible. And, with the way that they have their pay-per-view structured now, it definitely caters to that goal. But what's been your take of Aces and Eights so far? Just when it seemed like we were going to get just a really, really bad ending to this Aces and Eights, out of nowhere we get the injection of Taz, mark-out moment for fans. They feel as though maybe they're going to get classic Taz back, who was, of course, the king of cutting promos. But then we see that Taz is just really the same old Taz. He's still doing commentating. We see 2 more new members be revealed from Aces and Eights, but, it just doesn't seem like it's quite enough. What's been your overall takeaway from this group?
I think the problem with it is they're just now doing what they should have done 6 months ago with all the reveals and everything. Because I remember, saying to people that Aces and Eights was the best thing in wrestling. In summer, the Aces and Eights was a good angle. It was going somewhere. It made sense. And then next thing you know, Bound for Glory came, and there was one reveal. And then you go a few months, and then the next one is Doc. And then the next one, Mike Knox, which was like a botch because you barely even saw it on TV. and I don't think anybody, would pop for Mike Knox in the first place. And then Taz was a good one just because of how they did it. And, tonight was what it was. I don't think it's anything. Maybe if they did this at Bound for Glory, it would have been better. But because they dragged it on so long and all the reveals are like, then it kind of takes away from it, completely. It needs to end, and they need to reveal what they're there for, and they need to do what they came to do. It's enough messing around right now.
Right. Is there any redemption for this storyline?
I don't know. I don't like to judge things before they're finished, so I don't want to say it's a terrible angle or anything, but, I did the same thing with Immortal. I tried to stick it out and see where it was going, and Immortal seemed to drag on forever, and it was not entertaining. So we'll see how this ends up.
I'm really keeping my fingers crossed right now, and I'm just hoping that we get something of great shock value. And I think in this case, the shock value, it would just really kick major ass if Jeff Jarrett was just the brains behind this whole thing. I mean, I think at this point, the fans wouldn't mind seeing a Jeff Jarrett or Eric Bischoff. I think because they know that they're going to get some really interesting stuff. But, with what they just keep giving us, it's like if you eliminate Aces and Eights, there's just really, they've got nothing going, really. There's nothing really you can sink your teeth into. Some would kind of look at the whole Bully Ray thing, but I definitely want to pick your brain on this. And I could not help but notice this, and I didn't even have to rewind it on my DVR tonight, folks. That's just the power of TNA Wrestling right here, admitting a screw-up, so to speak, while not really truly acknowledging it. Sounds kind of weird, but fill me for a second here. Okay, we see the segment there as they're recapping the events that had happened there between Brooke Hogan, Bully Ray, their wedding. We see the preacher, okay. He says, do you? Oh, yes, I do. What about you, Bully? Do you? Yes, I do. Then the power invested in me. And then we see Taz cut in, okay. Now, I've been married before, and I actually happen to have been on the receiving end of, unfortunately, having to stop the vows in process in the middle of the process because, I had to, unfortunately, go use the bathroom because I was so freaking nervous. And you have to seal the deal. It's not over unless the preacher says, then by the powers invested in me, you are now pronounced man and wife. Okay, so these two aren't even married, okay? And yet we are being told by the Hulkster that Bully Ray is the son-in-law. I don't know if you kind of pay that kind of fine attention to some of the storylines that any wrestling promotion kind of puts out there, but I definitely want to pick your brain. How have you been looking at the Bully Ray character so far? It seemed like at one point he was just getting so white hot, man, but then it just seems like ever since they've paired him up with the Hogans, now I'm not trying to put you in a bad spot here because I know you're trying to do your thing with them. So I can respect it if you don't want to comment, but we got those wrestling fans. They're kicking back and they're seeing all these things that's happening. Some of them kind of feel like Bully Ray is being tied down here by the Hulkster. Why is he even being involved in some type of a program? With Brooke here, let him go back to doing what he was doing before. Many fans are begging that he be the one behind Aces and Eights. What's been your overall takeaway so far?
Well, as far as the wedding thing, I try not to scrutinize too much on, reality and things like that, because there's something like that and you're having a wedding on live TV and something like that happened and you were really, trying to get married and you're in love with this person, then wouldn't you go and, finish the vows some other time, off of TV? That's just how I look at it. It's different than, in another case where, like, Abyss was kidnapped by Aces and Eights, and held hostage for a month, and why didn't anybody call the police? That's a little bit different. But as far as the wedding goes, I can kind of buy that maybe they went and finished the marriage and, now they're married, and I just accept that. But the Bully Ray character himself, I don't really like him as a babyface. I think they kind of just made him babyface because Devon came and he became a heel, and because Devon's a heel, Bubba has to be a babyface. I think that's kind of how they did it, but I don't think it has to be that way. I think they could both be heels and, still not be friends, but that's not how they took it. And Bully Ray's, he's been a face for a while now, so it's kind of, starting to get to the point where I'm starting to accept it, and, fans are starting to accept it, because he did some pretty, when you do nasty things as a heel, and you're a heel for so long, it takes the fans a while to get over, the things that you did and accept you as a babyface. And he's just now starting to get to that point. Mm-hmm. So I'm just, seeing where it's going, but I'm not picking at it too much.
All right, that's good. That's good. I definitely want to pick your brain on this one as we're wrapping up. I know usually we try to dedicate tonight's show to just talking about TNA stuff, but I definitely want to pick your brain on this. What was your overall takeaway from seeing The Rock beat CM Punk at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view? We've heard so many people sit up and passionately say CM Punk, he got screwed. We have the smart wrestling fans, they recognize that this was done for strictly business purposes, that it's all about WrestleMania right now. And, we've seen that fans are really starting to panic for CM Punk now, because now we're hearing word that it looks like The Undertaker, who was a short lock to be facing CM Punk at this year's WrestleMania, now it's being said that Undertaker is kind of having second thoughts. He's not really sure if he might even compete at this year's WrestleMania. So that would kind of definitely put CM Punk in a pretty bad spot, especially as far as getting that good WrestleMania pay. What's been your overall takeaway with the Rock versus CM Punk, seeing Rock become the champion there? Was it smart for business or a combination of just everything?
You kind of got to take it both ways. I think it's kind of bad for business that The Rock came in and he beat John Cena and then he beat CM Punk. So he basically beat the two top stars in the business. Now he has the belt, and it's that case again. It's like, okay, well, he's not going to be on TV this week, and he's not going to be here for this. And I think it's bad that he could just come in and beat all the top guys and then disappear, because the top guys that are there are the ones that need to, do the business for the other 364 days of the year. So I think that's kind of bad, but at the same point, I understand why they did it, because I talked to you today earlier about how I did the Harley race camp and everything, and William Regal was there, and Regal had so much knowledge, and he taught us so much, and one of the things he talked to us about was, thinking outside of the wrestling bubble and doing stuff, that maybe not necessarily wrestling fans will see, because the wrestling fans are the people who will sit there and you can box something and they'll chant, "You effed up, you effed up," but they'll still come back the next week and support wrestling anyways, because they're wrestling fans and they're always going to be there. Mm. But people who are more important are the non-wrestling fans, and you got to do stuff to get the people interested in wrestling and to, turn that eye and turn people into fans, and that's more important than anything else. And The Rock, who has a movie coming out, and he's going to be doing all these shows, and he's going to be, promoting that. And if he has the WWE title over his shoulder coming up to WrestleMania, that's absolutely going to be a topic of conversation. And, that's just more people hearing the WWE name and seeing that title and recognizing that brand. So that's a good thing for business. So
right.
I don't really, both ways. I don't know.
The one thing that I had noticed about that match last Sunday, and it's something that a lot of people had pointed out, and I was glad that I had caught it on my own because I actually ended up watching the live event, and then I watched the encore. The one thing that I noticed that a lot of people kind of noticed too, it would have been all right for The Rock to get the title, but at least make CM Punk look strong. It's those little things that count. To have him just lose by people's elbow. One person had pointed out, we had saw The Rock do at least 2-3 rock bottoms to John Cena to get a win over him. John Cena still ended up looking kind of strong there. And in just the way that everything had just ended there for Punk, it was like, 400-plus days, that's it for that. I agree 100% with everything that you had just said, but for me, you don't have to funk it up is what I'm saying. At least kind of make your guy that has held that title for a year plus, at least kind of make him look a little bit strong, going forward. And, you got to do what you got to do for business. I definitely agree with that. Those of you that's joining us right now, Black Avenger Lee Sanders here, Impact Showdown Radio. Special guest, the famous Justin Reno. Great website, by the way, as always. I love that you are always updating it with new information, especially coming soon attractions. I see you are going to be busy, it looks like, right on up until May, if I'm not mistaken. And I couldn't help but notice one particular match. It looks like you're going to be taking on a mystery partner for the heavyweight championship. What's that? Looks like it's going down. Looks like that already went down. Did you get the belt?
I don't know what you're referring to. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Let me dodge that. Are you get off that subject? Is that your code? I'll get off that one. All right.
What's real fast? Like, what is he talking about? I don't know.
No, I looked at something from it looked like it was earlier in the month there. I see that your next event is going to be coming up on February 8th. Doors are opening at 7 p.m. Rings of Saturn. So you got Perry Saturn that's going to be stopping by. You going to be taking him on, or?
No, I'm not. I'm going to be in a different match that night. But thing about it is, it's funny because Friday night I'm going to be at Elite Pro Wrestling in Minnesota, and then if you see the very next night at MECW, I'm going to be all the way down by the St. Louis area. So that's how hard I work for the fans out there, and that's how hard I work for wrestling. I'm going to be taking, it's like 6 hours up to Minnesota and 6 hours down from my house to St. Louis. So I'm going to drive 6 hours up and then 12 hours down to MECW. So that's how hard I work for this, Lee.
That's passion. That's dedication right there, and I definitely respect that a lot. I think anybody can respect that. It doesn't matter if you're a wrestler. If you're not a wrestler, you can definitely appreciate that. When you're serious about something, you're going to see it through. You're going to stay passionate about it. You're going to just ride that bad boy out till the very end. I think all of you can appreciate that.
I'm definitely not going to sleep for probably 2 or 3 days on this trip, just straight, from one show back on the road, straight all the way down, do that show, straight all the way, driving again. So I'm going to be out for a good 2-3 days, but that's becoming routine to me now.
Wow. Well, look, give them all the info here before we wrap it up here. Let them know what events they can catch you at in the coming weeks, and give them that important information there about that TNA voting contest that they have going on for Gut Check.
Sure. First, the match I really want to promote is my next match at Blitz Pro Wrestling in Joliet, Illinois. It's the 23rd of February. I'm going to be wrestling Buddy Roberts Jr., who's one of my best friends in the business, and we were consistently a tag team. Buddy Roberts Jr. and Justin Reno. It's come to the point now that I'm Judas, all of a sudden me and him are becoming bitter enemies. And the first match, we had a match last month, and it ended up he won the match because I hit him with a chair, so he won by disqualification. this past month we were in a tag match. I ended up doing something cheap again. I hit him with my skull, pinned him 1, 2, 3 when the ref wasn't looking, and I beat him there. He challenged me to a bad street match, is what his father made famous, the late, great Buddy Roberts Sr. from the Fabulous Freebirds in WCCW. So it's going to be great to be wrestling Buddy Roberts Jr. in a bad street match at Pro Wrestling Blitz, which if you don't know the rules of a bad street match, there's basically no rules. You come in, and whatever you're wearing is legal. So I know him. I'm sure he's going to be wearing cowboy boots and jeans, and he'll probably be taking off the cowboy boots and hitting me with that. And I got all my crazy gimmicks as Judas, and you don't even know the kind of things I'm going to be hiding in my knee pads and in my boots. It's going to be a brutal match. It's probably going to be the most hardcore extreme match of my career. Really looking forward to that. And to talk about Gut Check, because you told me to plug that too, anyone who's listening right now, please go to justinreno.com. It's on the homepage. It says right there, it's in green, it says vote for Thomas Roshaki. You got to click on that, scroll down to the name Thomas Roshaki, click it, and vote. It's very easy. It only takes 2 seconds. Go to justinreno.com. Vote for me to see me on Impact Wrestling on Gut Check. It only takes a second.
Only takes a second, and for those of you that are not familiar with Justin's work, he does have a YouTube channel at The Justin Reno. Go check that out. He's always uploading new content up on there as soon as he gets a free moment. And you can see some of his matches on there. And trust me when I say that this guy, his future is very bright. This is definitely going to be one of those type of guys. I promise you. You see some of his matches, and I'm not giving you guys a rib here. I'm not selling or overselling. I'm giving you the real facts here. You're going to really love the way this guy wrestles. Without a doubt, he has a future in one of those 2 major promotions, either going to be WWE, TNA, or, hey, maybe perhaps Ring of Honor. They've been kind of making their waves too. But, Justin, I greatly appreciate you taking the time out to do this tonight. It's always a pleasure to have you come by the show. And, true story for those of you that don't know, for our newer listeners, when our show had first started off, and we were just struggling in numbers. We were still new kid on the block. Justin took a chance on us, and he came on by the show, and, we had a blast. And it just seems like each time he comes on by, it's like we're just better and better and better. And, I as I said earlier this week, I think, Justin, you just have a way with people. You always know how to bring out the best in them.
Oh, you're too kind, Lee. And truly and honestly, it's my pleasure to be on the show every time.
Yo, we love you, man. We love you. It's always a blast. And, hey, man, definitely stay in contact. Let me know anything we can do to help you out. As always, we got your back. Whether you need a good plug out, something posted on the website, we got you covered. And hopefully, because I'm going to be paying attention to this TNA voting contest. I'm trying to see you be on TV, bro. And, we got WrestleMania around the corner. Definitely stay in contact, because I would, maybe try to see if maybe we could, do something cool, do some type of a post show or something.
Hey, that sounds fun to me. I'm down.
All right. That's what's up, man. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the famous Justin Reno. Justin, thank you so much for stopping by, man, and do keep in touch.
You too, man. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, bro. Good night.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the famous Justin Reno. Always a blast when he comes by the show. As I said, great fucking guy. He's just totally fucking awesome. As I said there, when our show had first started off, we were just brutally bad. Anybody that doesn't believe that the show was just brutally bad, I want you to go back and pull up an episode from May of 2012 and then compare that to the shows that we have been putting out now. It is like 2 completely different people are on the show, 2 completely different hosts, 2 completely different type of energies. It's just bizarro is the best way I can put it. Always a joy when we have him come by the show. And we got some very important news that we need to give you guys. We got a new co-host that's going to be making his debut next Tuesday. For those of you that might be wondering, this is not going to be a 90-minute show. We're almost approaching 1 hour. We're going to take a very brief commercial break. I'm going to give you guys some quick programming notes. I'll give you guys just a little snippet of TNA Wrestling news, and then we'll wrap it up. So we'll probably be done in about maybe 11 minutes, maybe a little less than that. You're listening to Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you live right now on January 31st, 2013. We will be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
For news you can use, like us on Facebook during this commercial break at Infinity One Productions.
We are back, Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you right now. Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, Justin Reno is probably still listening, and Justin, if you are, Robert had another set of kind words to give to you. He says that he hopes that you make it to TNA, as he has the highest respect for hard workers in pro wrestling, and he wishes you good luck. Very classy words right there from Robert. Thank you for those words, Robert. So, as we had revealed earlier this week on our Tuesday night episode of the RCWR show, just in case you missed it, it's okay. We're going to give it to you one more time, and we'll probably give it to you again this weekend. We have finally locked in a new co-host, and you all are familiar with him. You all should be if you happen to be checking out a good number of the wrestling shows that's here on Blog Talk Radio. If not, hey, even better, helps me set up the guy for you properly. It's none other than the one, Diamond K. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Diamond K is the host, producer of his own show over at Diamond K Show on Ustream Radio. He was also the former correspondent for the Pro Wrestling Report's Monday Night Meltdown, and he was the co-host for Sudden Impact Radio with one of my occasional Twitter buddies that I like to tweet with, usually on Thursday night, good old Meathead. And he's going to be joining me. We're both Maryland boys. We both love wrestling. We both have been following it for a very long time. We did a two-part collaboration earlier this month. I had appeared on his show. He had appeared on mine, and the chemistry was just really pretty good. And next thing you know, new co-host, folks, and very proud that the next evolution in the RCWR show begins next Tuesday. I think you guys are going to be in for a special treat. We know there are those of you that just love it when I'm flying solo over here, but, you know, it's always good to evolve and adapt with the times. And if there's one thing that I've been hearing from you all, as I do pay attention to what you guys say, whether it be in emails that some of you send me, when you post comments on our YouTube channel, or you go out of your way to interact with us on Twitter, Facebook, you know, we're able to hear and see what you all are saying, and I'm definitely aware of you all as you all say, hey, you know, it's about time to get a co-host, man. You've done a good job solo. Let's see how you can do with a permanent co-host. So this is really kind of our way of kind of giving back to you guys, all in the good name of delivering a more stronger, better product. And name of the game is evolving. So next Tuesday, that is February 5th, new era of the RCWR show begins. Diamond K is going to be with me for all the shows, so make sure you check it out. It's going to be awesome. And, of course, this weekend is our Saturday edition of the RCWR show. We're going to cover all things wrestling-related news and beyond. You know how we do it on our weekend edition, so make sure that you join us. And I got to give you guys a quick programming note. I know February is about to happen in a few hours. You know, we got Valentine's Day that's right around the corner. You guys out there that got your lovely little pretty ladies out there, okay? I want you guys to do me a huge favor. If you guys are going to be kicking back, you're going to be having a nice little quiet night, make sure you join us Valentine's Day midnight, okay, February 14th. We're going to do a very special episode of the RCWR show for you guys. It's going to be nothing but a slow jam special. I'm going to be kicking back. I'm going to be playing some nice, cool, laid-back, slow jam music from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and today help you and your cutie unwind. Trust me, you'll thank me later. You want to check it out. It's going to be a really good episode. Check that out, Valentine's Day. It's going to come on at midnight. I just thought I'd get it out there now so you guys know. Trust me, it's going to be some really good stuff. By the time you guys listen to it, you're going to be looking at me in a whole new different light because we are going into uncharted territories that we have never gone through before. It's nice to kind of switch it up from time to time. All right, I want to go through just some brief wrestling-related news. We've already done an hour. I just want to give you a couple of TNA wrestling snippets, and then we'll go more in depth on Saturday. You know how we do it. So one of the things I want to let you guys know about off the break is that Hulk Hogan, he recently had posted this what I thought was a disturbing picture on Twitter, and it went down, I believe, earlier this week or over the weekend. I remember I was one of the first people that had looked at the picture, and I tweeted him personally off my personal Twitter account, and the picture that he posted was one of Brooke Hogan's legs. And the message that he had with that said Brooke's legs. Now, I must admit, I'm a Sagittarius. My eyes are going to wander. If I see a very beautiful woman, whether she is attached or not, I'm going to say, hello, how you doing? Or, hey, you are just visually stunning. You're attractive. And I'm not saying that as a pickup line. I just know a good thing when I see it, and I'll call a lady on it. And if the boyfriend pops up, I'll say, sir, you have one fine-ass-looking woman. I don't know if anybody's told you today, and usually it kind of gets the guys a little chuckle or whatever. I'm just one of those type of guys. I'm pretty laid back here. But I saw this picture. I said, man, Brooke Hogan's legs, they look fucking yummy. And what was disturbing was that the picture that Hogan posted of these legs, it didn't come from anybody else. It was almost like Hulk Hogan was just sitting across from Brooke, and he bust out his cell phone, and he was playing around with it, and he said, damn, Brooke's legs look pretty freaking hot. Took a picture, put it on Twitter, and he had just been receiving a ton of negative feedback. A lot of people were just creeped out about it. They called him a sicko. Of course, remember, a couple of years back, Hulk Hogan had saw Brooke perform at a nightclub, and it was a little bit risque, so to speak. Now, I'm not aware 100% if she was at this bar or if she was stripping or what, but I was told that she was shaking her thing and she was in a thong or whatever. And there was another scenario that had occurred where Hulk Hogan was seen putting baby oil all over her body. So, Hulk Hogan, he took great offense to the negative comments that he had been receiving about the picture of Brooke's legs. And he said that this picture had came to him. All he did was retweet it, and he's catching heat, and he thinks it's not fair. Now, I remember just as almost as if it was literally just a handful of hours ago. I remember when this picture had first came out, when Hulk Hogan put it out there. Folks, the picture was not retweeted. This was a picture that Hulk Hogan had put out on his own. And for those of you that are familiar with uploading images to Twitter, whether it be on desktop, iPad, your mobile device, you know how it looks when somebody decides they are looking at that picture and they want to retweet it. You know, because you're looking in your interaction section, okay? So I'm looking at this picture. Hogan, as far as I was able to tell, he did not retweet it. He did actually take the picture. Now, we saw Hulk Hogan basically calling people that basically thought he was a pervert and all that. He called them sickos. Even Brooke Hogan chimed in her thoughts. Even Hulk Hogan's ex-wife, Linda, chimed in her thoughts on it. And quite honestly, if this is a case where Hogan, you actually are innocent, man, and you did not take that picture of Brooke's legs, I think you should have went with a better choice of captioning. I don't know about you guys, but I would have went with a better captioning. I would have said a picture of Brooke's legs, picture taken by, give credit to the person that initially took the picture. That way you kind of really get yourself out of the creepy zone right there. But I just thought that was very interesting right there. Other TNA Wrestling related news, while we're still talking about the Hulkster, I got some very interesting news that you can really sink your teeth into. Now, Hulk Hogan had recently claimed that the back surgeries that he had over the years left him twisted like the Exorcist. Now, he recently had filed a lawsuit, just to get you guys' memory rejogged. He recently filed a lawsuit for over $50 million in lost earnings against the Laser Spine Institute in Tampa, Florida. Now, he's claiming that there were unnecessary operations on his spine that cost him a lucrative contract with the World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, he's insisting that the procedures carried out between February 2009 and August 2010 had severely damaged his already injured back and left his body just really messed up in a way that it was almost like the character Reagan McNeil in the 1973 horror film Exorcist. Now, he had recently did an exclusive interview with Bang Showbiz, direct quotes right here, and this comes from Hulk Hogan, 59 years old. He says, "The people who worked on my back, Laser Spine, said I didn't need a fusion, so they cut on my back on time, and I felt pretty good after a couple of weeks. I called WWE owner Vince McMahon and said, man, I'm good to go. Let's do this deal. So we started planning. Then suddenly I was like, my back. That put the deal on hold. Then they cut on me 6 more times, and they kept cutting me more bone away until I had to have spinal cord stimulator put in my back. Once again, he had to have a spinal cord stimulator put in his back. This stimulator has wires that go up your back and stops the pain. That pain in my back is because my body was twisted like the Exorcist. I couldn't pull my head around. My body was all contorted." Now, he's admitted that he's found heaven on earth after being told by the Laser Spine Institute he didn't need his spine fused together. But the multi-time world champion was in so much agony that he actually went to go see different doctors to get other opinions, and they were actually stunned by the state of his back. Now, he explained, everyone else said I needed fusion. When they're asking you if you're ready for a fusion, they say make sure you've done every option, rested, trained, proper nutrition. Then if you can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't work, if you can't have sex, if you can't even function in life, then fusion is your only option. The Laser Spine people came along and said you don't need a fusion. I thought I'd found heaven on earth. But after the surgeries, I was in so much pain that I finally went and got the fusion. The doctors looked at me and went, oh, my God, what have they done to you? They cut so much bone away, the new doctors didn't know if they could piece it together, but they did, and I'm okay now. So very, very interesting development right there from Hulk Hogan. I'm not sure how to take this news right now. It's one thing if he can have these doctors that he went to after he had all these repeated surgeries done to his back. It'd be one thing if he can get these doctors that are saying that all of those other surgeries were not needed. If he can successfully get them to back up his claims and they can give their medical testimony, then, folks, it really looks as though Hulk Hogan is going to be in a position where he's going to be getting some serious millions and millions of dollars. I'm letting you guys know right now in this exclusive, since we're covering this, I'm going on record. Don't be too surprised if Vince McMahon may be involved as part of this lawsuit. Hulk Hogan may try to have his lawyers reach out to the WWE chairman. They may issue him with a subpoena to appear in court to talk on behalf of Hulk Hogan. And, from the rumblings that I remember hearing in previous years, I'm kind of led to believe that there is no bad blood between Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon. So I would actually go on record here and say that if he's able to get Vince McMahon to talk on his behalf, Vince McMahon is going to have his back, no pun intended, but he's going to have his back on this one. And you can't help but feel sorry for the Hulkster right here. It's pretty messed up that he had all of those surgeries done. It kind of makes me wonder just what would have happened had maybe Hulk Hogan had hooked up with DDP and done some of that DDP yoga. I mean, we've heard some phenomenal stories that has been happening with those that have used DDP yoga, and we got a very interesting picture up on our Facebook page of Jake the Snake Roberts. You guys need to go check that out if you haven't liked our Facebook page. It's over at Infinity One Productions, and the picture of Jake the Snake, that just really is just fucking mind-blowing because it shows you the true power of DDP yoga. They show a before and after picture. The before picture shows Jake the Snake back in August of last year, just really, really hefty, and then the most updated pic is him of January 23rd. And Robert in the chat room, 100%, man. He looks freaking good. I mean, the guy looks like he's probably shed at least. When I showed it to my girlfriend, I thought maybe it was like 70 pounds, but she knows her numbers a little bit better than me. She thinks it looks more like 40, maybe 45 pounds. I guess that's the more realistic number, but he looks like half the man. He looks like the Jake the Snake that we remember. He's older now, but he just looks just like the Jake the Snake from the 80s. Freaking amazing. Go check that out. But, yeah, I mean, if Hulk Hogan would have been able to hook up with DDP years prior, he would probably still be maybe wrestling to this day. Who knows, folks? We can only speculate. But we'll definitely be keeping track on this latest development of what's happening with his back. Other than that, other TNA wrestling-related news that we have for you guys, I believe that is it. Well, except for this one little snippet that I thought was a little bit interesting. It looks like from this point forward, TNA, they're expected to market and model their house shows after their upcoming pay-per-view events, and it looks like they're going to be retiring their Impact Wrestling World Tour labeling. The change was recently seen at the UK tour stops, which were renamed the Maximum Impact Tour, the Road to Lockdown Tour. For those of you keeping track, TNA is going to begin marketing later house shows under the Road to Slammiversary Tour to begin marketing their upcoming TNA Slammiversary pay-per-view. So very interesting how they are doing this. All right, so for those of you that happen to subscribe to our YouTube channel, I want to give you guys a heads up that we're going to be uploading this episode on there, and we definitely welcome you all to share your comments on the groundbreaking news that was announced earlier tonight by TNA President Dixie Carter, saying that TNA Wrestling is going to be going on the road on a more permanent basis, thus abandoning the Impact Arena in the Orlando Studios, Florida grounds. I definitely want to know what you guys think on that. What we'll do is we'll give you guys enough time to submit comments. We'll see if we can follow up on it on this Saturday's show. Then depending on the number of comments, we'll either dedicate a good portion of the show to it there, or we'll follow up on it on Tuesday night's RCWR show and Impact Showdown Radio of next week. But once again, y'all are more than welcome. Leave those comments there. You can also leave your comments with us on Twitter at Infinity One Pride. Even leave us a comment on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. and we'll show you some love. We'll read your comments live on the air, but I'll definitely be going more in depth about this this Saturday, as I really had just scratched the surface. Tonight was just really about Justin Reno stopping by, and that was probably the fastest that we went over TNA Wrestling results. I do hope you guys had appreciated it, and we're going to be on a 48-hour break for now, but as I always love to say, the talk of wrestling, it doesn't end here. Check out InfinityOneProductions.com for all the latest and wrestling-related news and so much more. And for news that you can use, go check out our good Facebook page over at Infinity One Productions. We post a little bit of everything on there. Subscribe to us in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces. Use the keywords, the RCWR Show. All right, guys, so that is going to be it for now. I wish you guys a very safe, fun weekend. We'll see you this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern for our weekend edition. And you want to make sure you check that out. We're going to be going really, really in-depth. One of the things that we're going to be talking about, of course, is the tragic passing of that young girl that has sung at President Obama's second inaugurational ball there. In case you might have missed it, not heard, looks like that young girl that has sung for him was shot to death, tragically, in Chicago there. Only 15, 16 years old, had her life ahead of her. Some pretty sad stuff when you hear that. We'll go more in depth about that, and, of course, we'll do all the fixings, wrestling-related news, entertainment, all the stuff you usually come to love on our weekend edition. All right, guys, you all be safe. Be kind to one another. We'll see you this Saturday. Do take care.